that has everyone covered. Can your internet do that?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inquirer Live at Gameday Central, presented by Xfinity. As you can probably tell by some of this background noise, we are here live in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. I'm Josh Tolentino, Eagles beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer, and I'm joined by my co-host, fellow beat writer, EJ Smith.
What's going on, Josh? I'm feeling good. I got some live music right now. I can't really hear it because of my noise-canceling headphones, but I assume it's pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this music is pretty crazy. It really feels like, obviously, we've been in Las Vegas. We've been here for a few days, EJ. The Eagles got here yesterday, Saturday. What has your luck been like this weekend, man?
I am a net even. I haven't spent any money at the casino, and I haven't lost any money, which is the way that I like it. How about you?
There you go. I'm going to say I'm up just a little bit. Knock on wood, probably no more gambling for us the rest of this weekend. But obviously, we are here for the Eagles and Raiders, who are about to, in just a few hours, kick off here from Allegiant Stadium. And for all our viewers back at home, back in Philadelphia, wherever you're watching, throughout the season, we'll be coming to you live from Inquirer Live at Gameday Central. Make sure you tune in, inquirer.com/Gameday Central. And most especially, EJ, we're able to interact with our readers, our subscribers. I think that's the best part about this experience.
Yeah, so you'll be able to, we'll be interacting with our readers, like you said. We'll take questions. And for next week, if you want to send in questions to us, we're at inquirer.com/Inquirer or Gameday Central. So once again, it's inquirer.com/Gameday Central.
You know what? Before this noise gets any louder, EJ, let's get into it. There's been a lot that's happened since the last Eagles lost. It feels like forever ago, about 10 days ago, last Thursday at Lincoln Financial Field to the Buccaneers. What's the latest, EJ? What's next for this team as they're here in Vegas, about to take on, I think, a pretty good Raiders team at 4-2?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Josh. It's been a really long time since the Eagles played a game, and since then, the biggest things that have happened is Zach Ertz has been traded to the Cardinals. The Eagles got back a day 3 pick and take a quarterback in that trade. It kind of opens up the door for Dallas Goddard to take over that tight end number 1 role, something he hasn't really had a chance to do since he was drafted. The coaches have talked all week about incorporating Miles Sanders more into the offensive game plan, running the ball more, maybe more traditional runs. And those are probably the 2 biggest. And then I'd say Lane Johnson coming back is probably arguably the most important thing for the Eagles going into this game, is they're getting their starting right tackle back. He missed 3 games while dealing with depression and anxiety. He was away from the team for a little while. He's back now, so the Eagles offensive line gets a big move.
We'll definitely talk about Lane Johnson, about Miles Sanders, like what you mentioned. But running back to the top, man, what does it mean that Zach Ertz, a franchise, I wouldn't be a stretch to say icon for the city, for him to leave after about 9 years with this organization? And what's next for Dallas Goddard? I think, what do you really envision? Especially, he's in a contract year. He's in the last year of his rookie deal. Rewind back just a few days ago, we were talking to general manager Howie Roseman, and he was saying, they want to learn as much information. Do you think the team has all the information on Goddard? Do they need to see much more? Now that he steps into this tight end number 1 spot, EJ?
Yeah, man, the band was so interested in this question, they stopped playing for a second there. They decided to give us a break so that we could really get into this. So, yeah, you're right. Dallas Goddard is in a contract year. He'll be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. And I think that this is going to be an important second half of the year for him. He's got they talked about him needing to almost earn the contract, sort of show what he can do in this role. And I think that part of the reason they moved on from Ertz was to make sure they saw what they needed to see out of him in the second half, the last 2/3 of the season, I guess it would be. So I really do. I think that he's coming off a short week this game, or he's coming off a week where he didn't practice all week. He was limited. He just came off the COVID list, and he said he dealt with mild symptoms. He said he was really bored sitting at home, and I think that it will, maybe this game he'll be eased in a little more. But I do think that the rest of the season will be really important to see what he's capable of.
Yeah, I think he's a really talented tight end. And if you look at just, I guess, the floor of the other tight end free agents, one specific guy that comes to mind is a former Penn State guy, Mike Gesicki. I think he's been having an incredible year down there. The Miami's offense has struggled a bit, but if you're Dallas Goddard, you look across, who's your competition when it comes to free agency. He's got to, up the production. It's kind of been an up and down year, I'd say, for him. But when you think about the offensive weapons on this team, Devontae Smith, Miles Sanders, but when it comes to receptions, Dallas Goddard needs to get more involved, and he'll certainly get that opportunity. I'm interested to see how he performs coming off the COVID list. But if moving on to a guy I just mentioned, Miles Sanders. I mean, this is such an interesting situation in Philadelphia with Nick Sirianni as a first-year play caller. Man, he loves to pass the ball, EJ, as we've learned. And, there's a lot of factors, mainly game flow, that Nick Sirianni likes to point as to why Miles Sanders has not been involved. But what's your take on, Miles Sanders really, we saw last week against a pretty good Bucs rushing defense, but when Miles Sanders could dig at the ball, he's showing that he can pick up 4 or 5 yards. You just do the math that you got to run the ball more. Is that your take? That's certainly mine with Miles Sanders.
I'm not typically like a run the ball guy, I really do subscribe to the idea that passing is more efficient, it's more explosive. But I also think that what we've seen from the Eagles offense so far is it's very quarterback centric. They put a lot on Jalen Hurts' plate. And I think that teams are kind of daring them to throw the ball. So I think that's why you're seeing some of these runs break for 4, 5, 6 yards at a time. It's hard when the offense isn't executing to get enough plays to really do that. But I think for the most part, we really do need to see them use a few more traditional runs, especially because, we're seeing light boxes. This team faces light boxes a lot of the time because, again, teams want them to throw the ball. They want to see if they can push the ball down the field. So I think that that's going to be a focus going into this game, is to run the ball a little bit more often, even though, I take Nick Sirianni at his word. When the box counts that they have, I think that when they go into RPOs, which is run pass option, for those who may not know, it's like they want to count the players in the box, and if they've got favorable numbers to pass it, they pass it. I think they're getting those numbers, but I think sometimes just a called run, a traditional run, will kind of keep the flow of the game a little bit better for them, and help the offense get into a rhythm.
Yeah, and not just that, to even out the ratio, but one great point that you put that I just want to hammer home on for all our viewers, all the subscribers. Jalen Hurts has done way too much in this offense. And obviously you want your quarterback to be the focal point of the offense, but more than 85%, I think that's just a ridiculous amount, too much pressure really on Jalen Hurts' shoulders. And this is for a tidbit that only our Inquirer Live, Gameday Central subscribers, readers will get. It was just a random run-in, as I told you earlier, EJ, but Jalen Hurts, I took the elevator down with him. We just happened to take the same time leaving the hotel as the team was getting on the bus. And for just a few seconds, we joked about them running the ball more and, him giving it to Miles Sanders. So we'll see if it actually happens here today in Las Vegas. But, as we transition into what's important, who's healthy? You talked about Lane Johnson at the top. EJ, what does it mean for the team to get back? And not just that, let's run through really all the injuries on the team. They're getting Dallas Goddard back. They're getting Lane Johnson back. A couple guys on the men like Tyree Jackson. Who's healthy for this team as we hit Week 7 in Las Vegas?
So they'll get Lane Johnson back at right tackle, and Dallas Goddard, after missing last game with COVID, is back as well. Again, Dallas was limited early in the week. I'm interested to see if he has the conditioning to play the whole game. They said that they're confident he can play the whole game, but they also said if he can't play the whole game, we've got guys behind him. So it'll be interesting to see how many snaps he gets. Anthony Harris was ruled out of the game with kind of a bizarre set of injuries. He's injured both of his hands, and he has a groin injury. I'm not making any jokes there. I'm just saying that's what he's missing the game with. So you'll probably see Marcus Epps a lot. They brought Craig James up Elijah Riley. Sorry, they brought Elijah Riley up from the practice squad for this game. They're pretty healthy. Honestly, all things considered, going into this game. You mentioned Tyree Jackson. He won't be back, at least not this week. Maybe next week. They activated the practice window for him. He's got a 3-week span where he can come off of IR. He was really excited about him, but he's not there yet. So yeah, that's kind of the lay of the land as far as who's here and who's not.
It looks like we lost EJ there for a second, but he was talking about Tyree Jackson. He mentioned Anthony Harris, and I really want to focus in on Anthony Harris. Man, I think that's a big part of this defense, and not necessarily for the skill or talent level, but I think a big part is just his leadership at the back end of the secondary. As we get EJ back, EJ, I really want to discuss Anthony Harris, man, what does it mean for the defense to lose that piece for Marcus Epps to be back there and against a Raiders defense that loves to throw the deep ball? There's no other quarterback in the league that leads the league in receptions longer than 20 yards. Derek Carr loves to go deep to Henry Ruggs, to Darren Waller, one of the best tight ends in the league. What is let's focus on the secondary for a second. What does Harris's loss mean for this game?
It's big, especially when you consider Kayvon Wallace is still on injured reserve. They're pretty thin at safety, and this is a defense that they ask their safeties to do a lot as far as limiting explosive plays. They play them really deep. They play two guys back there and make sure that they don't give up plays like you mentioned to Henry Ruggs or Darren Waller down the field. So it is going to be a big factor in the game. I also feel like while we're talking about injuries, I should mention the last I saw, Darren Waller was questionable going into the game with an ankle injury, and I think I heard that it's not really like looking good for him to actually play. If he doesn't play, that's a huge blow to the Raiders offense. I mean, he's one of the best tight ends in the league.
Yeah, especially against a linebacker unit with the Eagles that have allowed a lot of receptions and yards to opposing tight ends. So we'll see Waller's status here as the game gets closer. And I just saw him on the field trying to test out that ankle just a few minutes ago. So we'll see come game time if he's actually on the field. And transitioning a little bit to a more really important matter, EJ, Lane Johnson, he's been out the past few weeks. He was ruled as a personal matter as the team let him handle his personal business. Obviously, this week, a much serious note that he mentioned he's been battling some mental health issues and really raising awareness with his teammates, with the coaching staff, that he just had to get mentally right. EJ, as you saw Lane Johnson come back to practice this week, what was the importance of him bringing awareness to that, and what do you think it meant for the team to get Lane back on that offensive line that has, a lot? It's basically every game it looks like that's a different unit out there. I think they take a step forward in the right direction with Lane back today.
Yeah, and I think I would commend Lane because, it's not easy to talk about these things, but it's important. I mean, a lot of people go through stuff like this, not just professional athletes, but just everyday people. They deal with this on a short-term basis, on a long-term basis. And I think, for people to see a guy like Lane Johnson, big, strong NFL offensive lineman, one of the best at his position, come out and, acknowledge that he's going through the same types of things that a lot of people go through. I think that's really important. I think it sets a great example. And, the message from the team all week was, we're going to support him. We're going to show him our support. We're going to make sure that we're there for him. And I think that it was really emblematic of how far the league has come when it comes to dealing with these types of things, especially the Eagles locker room. I want to give them some credit. They really have, it feels like there's a lot of progress with these types of conversations, which is good.
Yeah, and you talk about Lane Johnson and what he's kind of been through during his time with the Eagles. I mean, this is a guy that played through so many injuries, just dating back to last season with both of his ankles. I mean, he really played through a lot of pain, and so really him bringing awareness to the issue, I think, shed some light on some things that a lot of people don't think about in such a grueling sport. You talk about you mentioned the offensive line, and we talked about the health of the offensive line. They've lost so many bodies this year between Isaac, between Brandon Brooks. Obviously, Jordan Mailata gets to shift back to left tackle. And let's rap about that really quick, EJ. What do you think about Jordan over there on the right side the past couple of weeks? And, what is going to be the impact of him moving back to his more natural side there on the left side, protecting Jalen Hurts' blind side?
Yeah, I think that he had his ups and downs. He gave up back-to-back sacks in Carolina, and it looked like he was having a little trouble getting off the snap on the first one. It looked like the second one might have been a little bit more of a mistimed snap than anything else. But he has his ups. I think, like I said, he has his ups and downs on that side. I think he's comfortable on both, which is important. But I do think that he spent all summer on the left side. He spent a lot of time working on that left side, and I think Andre Dillard played well at left tackle, but you put Mailata on the left side. I'm excited to see Landon Dickerson and him on the left side together because, that is just like a combined, almost 700 pounds probably. Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, I think I should have reached even further. Those are big bodies on that left side protecting Jalen Hurts. A fisheye lens to go as far as you need to go for those two. Yeah, it's definitely, it'll be interesting to see how those two mesh together. I don't know how many reps they've gotten together, but again, just from a strength perspective, that's a big side of the line,
Yeah, and when you mentioned Landon Dickerson, man, that guy's a football player. You talk about, obviously his background at Alabama, the knee injury that he went through and rehabbing and coming back to obviously come back for the Eagles, play this season. honestly, I'm a bit surprised, EJ, at how early he came back. I thought it was going to take, personally, I thought it was going to take a little bit longer into the season. And he, not only was he back, I mean, he's playing the right side, he's playing the left side, definitely going through some rookie ups and downs, and more so downs than ups. But you think back to his first game and, the pressures that he allowed. But for him to swing back, to this left side, and I'm really excited to see him next to Jordan Mailata, because you mentioned those are big guys. And I think Jalen Hurts in a couple of years, the Eagles, if he's still here at quarterback, he'll be happy for those guys anchoring that left side. But I think this is a great part of the segment that I really wanted to get into, EJ. What did they say? And when we talk about what did they say, we're talking about our readers, our viewers back home that mean so much to the Inquirer, to Gameday Central. EJ, I think you got some questions for us from our readers.
Yeah, so I'll start us off here with JT.
JT, I like JT.
Yeah, that's actually you. Darren F. from Atco, New Jersey. He asks, understanding the analytics that pass plays average more yards per play than running plays, 7 yards per attempt versus 4 yards per attempt. If Hurts can't get the long passes because of an inexperienced line or his own inabilities to get through the progression, don't you think that Sirianni needs to become more balanced with the run and the pass? Defense is just playing short passes because that is what the large majority of the plays are. The game strategy of 80% of passes or more being short range and will never give them a fair chance of winning unless the defense is superhuman, since they are on the field 75% of the game. So I guess the gist of the question is, shouldn't, even though the analytics say that passing is more explosive, I mentioned that earlier, shouldn't the Eagles be mixing in more runs just because of the context here?
A very thorough question from Darren from Atco, New Jersey. No, we really appreciate the depth of the question, and it's a phenomenal question, really. I mean, it's been the talking point of this offense. You could say all season, but definitely the past 5 weeks. You talk about what Miles Sanders has done basically since the Atlanta game. Much of nothing, really. And when he does touch the ball, he certainly does something. It's just that he's not getting that opportunity. And there's a lot of blame to go around. You talk about Nick Sirianni not running those traditional run plays. Jalen Hurts as well, taking the ball out of his hands in those RPOs and, taking that action into his own hands. Truly, they kind of got this mini bye the past week, EJ. They had the Thursday game. They got to think about the loss Friday, Saturday, Sunday before they got back into business at NovaCare on Monday, returning to the facility. I think Nick Sirianni really thought about what he's done. The rookie miscues. Our fellow beat writer Jeff McClain had a great article in yesterday's paper inside the Inquirer about Nick Sirianni really kind of just going through it. He's a rookie play caller, really a rookie head coach, dealing with what you call a second-year quarterback, but a rookie NFL starter in Jalen Hurts. I think we might see some changes here today. I've said that the past 2 weeks, but I really do think the extra few days gave them some time to think this one out. Let's talk after the game, though. We'll talk next Game Day Central on that run-pass ratio and how many touches Miles Sanders actually ends up getting. But transitioning to our next question from George T. from Claymont, Delaware.
Kind of the
same question. His question's more so about the screen game. The screens are doomed before they develop. EJ, we'll kind of form this question on our own. What's your opinion on Nick Sirianni's screen game? Obviously, we've seen a lot of it. Do you think they have the weapons to do it between Quez Watkins, Devontae Smith, Jalen Reagor, Kenny Gainwell, Miles Sanders, another guy we mentioned? Should they be running this much screen, or should they be running even more?
I think they went really heavy on it against Carolina, and I think it sort of came back to bite them. I think that it's become such a big part of the offense that there's a little bit of like a predictability there now. There's not as much creativity. Week one, you can run as many screens as you want. I mean, people don't really know it's coming yet, but I think, and I wanted to kind of touch on this with the last question too. It's like, this offense is still looking for its identity. It's still looking for the things that it does well and the things that it can go to when it needs a play. And we've seen this offense go through some pretty significant droughts in games where it's constant. It's 3, 4, 5 straight 3-and-outs. Turnovers mixed in, and they really can't sustain a drive. I think that the lack of production on the screenplays has played into that. So I don't know if I would say more, maybe less. And I just want to mention that this question brings up can Miles Sanders go out on pass patterns? I mean, Miles Sanders caught the ball well his rookie season, but he led the league, or he's tied for the league lead in drops the second year. and he struggled at times in camp catching the ball. So I'm not saying that you should never see if he can do it in a game, but I think that there is reason that you don't see him out on those routes very often.
Yeah, and between him and Kenneth Gainwell, the rookie they drafted out of Memphis, man, I think Kenneth Gainwell is really talented out of the backfield. And not just that, lining up, we've seen him line him up. Nick Sirianni line Gainwell up at different spots across the receiver position. So, and he's shown that, he has those route running skills, that he's explosive, that he makes the first defender miss. So that's a lot for Nick Sirianni, for Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator, to factor into their game planning against this Raiders team. But transitioning to one more question, Mike, or EJ, I'm sorry. The question is from Mike H. from Canton, Connecticut, as Bo Wolf from The Athletic says hello. Josh Sweat, a guy that got that contract extension. Mike from Canton, Connecticut, asked, Josh Sweat does not look as strong as at the point of the attack. The excuse is he's an edge rusher, but he's been silent there. Do you agree with that sentiment, EJ, and more so on the extension that he was given earlier in the season?
No, I think that that sentiment could kind of reach the entire defensive line in the last two games. I mean, against Tom Brady, he gets the ball out pretty quickly. You're not going to get home very often. I do want to caution, sometimes it might look like Josh Sweat is like your edge player, your force player, but that's not always the case in the Eagles defense. At least it hasn't been in the past. I think it's fair to say that he hasn't been that productive since the extension. But at the same time, I don't think that the Eagles defensive line as a whole has played well enough recently to really will them to wins. So yeah, I would say that it's a little too early to say that the contract was a big mistake or a waste of an extension, especially because I think he signed a pretty team-friendly deal.
Yeah, and we've spent so much time talking about the offense. Jonathan Gannon, a rookie defensive coordinator, and people thought that the last defensive coordinator wasn't blitzing that much. You look at Jonathan Gannon, and he just loves to send equal. He likes to send equal pressure with whether the front's three guys, whether the front's four guys. I don't think we've seen a lot of blitz packages from this defense, which allows, to their point, with Jonathan Gannon playing the secondary game, they don't allow a lot of big passes. How much blitz are we going to see against Derek Carr, against this Raiders offense? To be honest, I don't think much, especially you consider the secondary that's without Anthony Harris, without Kayvon. They're going to need some help back there. So I think that we're going to see less people in the box, more people in the secondary, especially if Darren Waller's the go. They've got a lot of explosive weapons on the outside. Henry Ruggs is really having a much better season. And one more question that I want to focus in on. Henry Ruggs, EJ, what's your opinion on him? He had a down rookie year, but it seems like he's really kind of picked up his performance in this season, and not just that, he's got that relationship with Devontae Smith. It's going to be a special game for them as Devontae and Ruggs reunite here on the field just in a few moments.
Yeah, they were both a part of this loaded wide receiver class at Alabama, I think with these young receivers, especially a deep threat like Henry Ruggs, although I think he can do a lot more than the deep stuff. But with a guy like him, sometimes it takes time. First-year receivers aren't always these massively productive, game changers. Sometimes it takes them a couple years. But no, I think that he's definitely come a long way. I think that they're starting to figure out the ways that they can use him. And you saw against Denver, he had a couple big catches down the field. His speed is undeniable. He's one of the fastest guys in the league. And, it's going to be a challenge for sure.
All right, EJ, I want to get to your prediction, man. But first, as you guys can see, we're at the press box. We're at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. We just got the inactive list handed to us, so I'm going to run through the inactives really quick. I think we've talked about the impact of the guys they're losing, but obviously Anthony Harris, not a surprise. He's been ruled out. Quarterback Gardner Minshew, who was traded from the Jaguars earlier this season, he hasn't been active for a game. Cornerback Tay Gowan, the player they received in the Zach Ertz trade from the Cardinals, he's inactive. That's not really a surprise, EJ. He's been on the practice squad. He's got to learn a new defense with Jonathan Gannon. I think we might see him at some point this season, maybe a special teams player, because he does have some nice length on him. He's a tall, lengthy defensive back. I think at some point we'll see him this season. And just running through the rest of the inactives, cornerback Mac McCain, offensive line Jack Anderson, Sua Opeta, and then defensive lineman, a rookie Marlon Tupelotu. But EJ, prediction time, man. What is going to happen here in Las Vegas just in about an hour or so as this team takes on the Raiders?
Well, I had the Raiders winning this game by a field goal, but that's before Darren Waller was ruled out. Honestly, I'll take a step out and stick my neck out a little bit. I think that the Eagles have a real chance to win this. I think the mini bye is going to be a big impact.
He's switching his prediction.
Yeah, I think that the mini bye will be good for them. I think that you might see a lot of different things offensively. I think defensively, they're going to, again, I think they're identifying the things that they're good at. So, give me Eagles 27, Raiders 21.
In Sunday's paper for the Inquirer, I picked the Raiders to win by 3 points. For a moment there, I was going to swing back with you and turn the wave and go with the Eagles. Especially having that short conversation with Jalen Hurts in the elevator this morning. But I think I'm going to stick with my prediction. And even without Waller, I think the defense without Anthony Harris, I think they might struggle to contain this Raiders offense that loves to pass the ball. And obviously, the Eagles, I wouldn't call it a hostile environment. You and I have been walking the strip this weekend. We've seen a lot of Eagles fans here. I don't know. You think it'd be 50-50 in regards to the fans out here, EJ? I do see a lot of green are here already.
It could be 50-50. I mean, I've been hearing Eagles chants since I got to the airport. I mean, I've been hearing them, and I had a Salt Lake City layover. I had it there. I mean, I'm walking down the strip, Eagles fans everywhere, man. I think it could be more even than you might think, especially considering, this is just a fun place for people to come and see a game.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, you look at the facility itself. I covered a game here last year, but being back with the fans, it's amazing. There's literally a club, like a nightclub in the end zone. I don't know how much those tickets are. They're probably outside our budget, EJ. Maybe next time we come down here, we'll be in the end zone. But it should be a great environment here, as you guys can tell by the noise, by all the fans filing in. And we got one more segment here, EJ, and I think it's pretty important, especially against this Raiders offense. Let's go to our tweet of the week, EJ, if you want to run through that really quick.
Yeah, so I just found this interesting. Pro Football Focus, whatever you think about them, they do a decent job tracking, coverage stats. As looks like there's something going on in the field out there. But yeah, so it's basically running through the targets and the completions that Darius Slay has allowed so far this season. And I mean, it shows that he's done a pretty good job. I mean, this is a zone-heavy scheme. He's not matching up with guys quite as much as he did last year in a man-to-man type of way. But when teams are throwing at Darius Slay, guys aren't really catching the ball right now. And I just, I feel like we haven't really highlighted that too much. So I just kind of wanted to point out that Darius Slay has been pretty good in coverage this year. He's been about what you would expect him. And
again, another tidbit that you're only going to get at Inquirer Live. I woke up around 7 a.m. This morning, EJ, hit the hotel gym. And as I was leaving to go back to my room to get ready, Darius Slay, about probably 8:30, was walking to the team breakfast on the second floor of the team hotel. I gave him a little sup, Slay. He had his headphones locked in. He was already, I don't know who he's going to be shadowing, if they'll be playing some zone, which they have much of the season, but he looked locked in at that early hour. He's been having a pretty good year, and most especially leading up to next game, which is a great transition. You can catch us on Inquirer Live, Game Day Central next week from Detroit. Darius Slay, he gets to make his return to the Lions next week. That's a big game for him. But first, they got to deal with this Raiders team, a very potent offense. They love to throw the ball. We'll see what Jonathan Gaddon, what Nick Sirianni has dialed up. But EJ, if you want to wrap it up, it's almost kickoff. We're about an hour away from kickoff. If you want to wrap us up here on Game Day Central.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you'll be able to find us here right back here next Sunday, on Sunday, October 31st. Halloween. I don't know if I'm wearing a costume to the press box or anything like that, but I'll try and figure something out. Something festive.
You got an orange suit there, EJ, in your closet?
I don't know if I could pull off an orange suit. I might end up looking more like a pumpkin than anything else. So I don't know about that one. But yeah, so we'll be there for the Eagles Detroit Lions game. We'll be coming to you at 11:30 from Ford Field. Until then, we look forward to hearing from you at our Inquirer.com and continuing the conversation every week here at Inquirer Live at Game Day Central, presented by Xfinity. See you then.